Yes, I can feel the warmth already.
Well, I tell you, today it was a weird weather day. It was like nice out. It was supposed to snow. Now it's like really looks like it's going to snow, but that really makes us think of pitchers and catchers where I'm sure Clearwater, Florida is a heck of a lot better. But let's get into your mailbag, Frank, and take a look at some big questions that are going to be surrounding this team in spring training. And while the team's expectations are not that high, I feel like the fan interest is more around this team than it has been over the last 3 years where the expectations were really low. But I think people are excited to see what this new, younger group brings to the table.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, people were tired of the same old veteran players, achieving the same old tired result. So I think the young players have brought a lot of energy to the fans so far.
All right, Frank, let's get into the mailbag here. And I guess this is a question that many people don't know the answer to. So spring training down there, one of the big battles will be for the closer spot. Now, they had two capable closers last year. Who do you think the front runner is, and who are some of the guys in the mix for that job this year?
Well, the first person I would name is veteran reliever David Hernandez. Now, Hernandez goes way back with Andy McPhail and Matt Klentak to his Oriole days. They were the ones who originally drafted him. And the Phillies are spending near $4 million on him for this season. He's coming off some injury with the Diamondbacks. But being that he's a veteran arm and rather stable, he might get that first shot.
All right, so who are some of the guys in that bullpen that he will be competing with? Because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of competition for that job. Is this just Hernandez's job basically to win, or will he be pushed?
Well, the Phillies signed a trio of non-guaranteed contract, non-roster invitees that have closing experience in the major leagues. South Jersey's own Andrew Bailey would be perhaps the name that people would recognize the most, a graduate of Paul VI High School. And they've also extended invitations to Ernesto Frieri, one-time closer for the Angels and a little bit for the Braves, and Edward Mojica, who the Phillies had interest in a couple of years ago, who closed for the St. Louis Cardinals for a season. So all three of them have big league closing experience, and they all, if they step up, might get a shot.
Frank Klose covers the Phillies, 97.3 ESPN.com. From John, he wants to know, do you think the Phillies GM Matt Klentak will get a bat before the start of the season, something that a lot of people still think, would be nice to have somebody to protect Maikel Franco?
Well, I don't think that they're going to add anybody. If you look at their roster, it's pretty much set. All five outfield spots are pretty much accounted for at this time. When you look from left to right, Cody Ashe and Rule 5 pick Tyler Goodell. Then you have in center field Odubel Herrera, and then you have Peter Borjosin now, and you also have Aaron Altair in right field. So there's really no room there. We still have Darren Ruffin and Ryan Howard at first base. Up the middle, Freddy Galvis and Cesar Hernandez and Andres Blanco, and then at third base, Maikel Franco. So and Carlos Ruiz is still signed to catcher. So really there is no place to really add a bat. I think the one exception might be is if they land a real bargain for one of the leftover free agents. Some people have kicked around, at least online in Phillies articles, the idea of taking a shot at Ian Desmond. Now, Matt Klentak has said he's looking for bargains. He's certainly, not a long-term solution at shortstop because the Phillies expect J.P. Crawford to be that. But if you can get him on a one-year deal with the full idea of flipping him at the trade deadline, that might be an option. But he would have to fall into their lap for something like that to happen.
All right, Frank, how about the international pool? Something the Phillies had not been involved in over the really during the Ruben Amaro Jr. era. Do you feel that Matt Klentak and company, that they could be players in the international pool in July?
I think the best sign is that they traded for the allocation of funds from the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the Diamondbacks were saving up their pennies, as we know now, to sign Zach Greinke. But the Phillies seem to be playing this pretty smart. They're not going to blow past their allotment and then damage their opportunity down the line because there are not only financial penalties that you spend over your allotment, but there are also penalties on having the ability to sign players the following year. So what I think that they'll try to do is they'll try to trade for other teams' allotments, they'll spend up to their allotment, and they really won't blow that away unless there's somebody that's really a big deal. And right now out of Cuba, there are two brothers that just defected out of Cuba. Will be Lawrence Gurriel Jr. and you might want to look at him. He's 22 years old, and if he's not eligible until 23 years old, because it usually takes a while, then he wouldn't count towards that. He would be a non-restricted free agent. So that might be an area where they don't have to blow past their allotment and can still add some international talent.
All right, Frank Klose with us, 97.3 ESPN.com. Of course, sportstalkphilly.com, and he runs Philadelphia for them as well. He'll be running the Phillies for us at 97.3 ESPN.com. Last question comes from Willis today in Frank's Monday mailbag. When does J.P. Crawford make his debut with the Phillies?
And we sort of touched on this last week. I think it'll be up to him. I mean, right now he's not blocked. Freddy, Galvis, Cesar, Hernandez are your middle infielders. None of them are going to be set in stone long-term solution for the Phillies. So if it ever gets to the point where J.P. Crawford is batting .330 in the minor leagues, and it's clear that there's nothing more he could possibly do in AAA, well, then he'll come up. And then if it means either Galvis or Hernandez end up being the second base and the other one ends up a utility player, I think then the Phillies would just make that adjustment if Crawford's ready. So he's going to tell us by his performance at AAA.
All right, Frank will be doing a Monday mailbag that you can see on 97.3 ESPN.com. And on Tuesdays, we'll go over your mailbag questions. So if you have questions for Frank, how can they get questions to you?
My handle on Twitter is Frank Klose with a K, 973.
All right, tweet your questions to Frank, and then we'll go over the answers on Tuesdays here. Throughout the baseball season, pitchers and catchers, I believe the Phillies report February the 18th to beautiful Clearwater, Florida, and Frank will be down there with the team the first week of spring training. We'll have full reports from him from beautiful Clearwater, Florida. All right, Frank, good stuff, man, and people send your questions for the Phillies mailbag for next week. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Mike.